Alright, today I'm going to be talking about America's debt, deficit, and the super committee. As of yesterday, our federal debt was $14.8 trillion with a deficit of $1.3 trillion. And the difference between the debt and the debt is the total amount our country owes, and the deficit is the amount compared to the amount we spend compared to the amount we take in. So like if you made $1,000 a month and you decided for some reason you wanted to spend $1,100, your deficit is going to be $100. So not a lot of people realize how much $1 trillion is. And to put that in perspective for you guys, if you started a company at the year zero, like the year Jesus was born, and the only thing that company did was lose $15 million a day. $15 million a day. That's $5.4 billion a year. It would take you till the year 684 to equal what we had yesterday in our debt. Make no mistake, our debt and deficit is the #1 issue facing our country today. It's not Afghanistan, it's not jobs, it's our debt and deficit. In this speech, I will argue that the super committee needs to both raise taxes and cut spending. I'm first going to go over who the super committee is, what they need to do, and then what are the consequences going to be if they don't do it. The super committee. It's a panel of 12 members. You got Republicans, you got Democrats, you got senators, you got representatives. And they are charged with finding 1.5 trillion in deficit cuts over the next 10 years. Now the way they're going to do this is simple. They need to raise taxes, they need to cut spending. They need to do both to get our debt under control. Raising taxes. A lot of people, when they hear the phrase raise taxes, they're automatically shut to the idea, but we need to do it. One easy way that the committee can raise taxes is by getting rid of the Bush tax cuts. These are tax cuts that Bush put into effect years ago, and we don't have the money to pay for these cuts, so we need to let them expire. Second thing, they need to cut spending. One easy way for them to cut spending is to get rid of big oil tax breaks. 5 of the biggest oil companies save $21 billion a year off of tax breaks that they don't need. They're billion-dollar companies. They're some of the biggest companies in the world. Now, if the committee fails to take this action and other action, there will be consequences. First consequence that could happen is our currency could fail to become, or to be, the world reserve currency. If you didn't know, the US dollar is reserve currency for the world. And if that happened and we're no longer the reserve currency, that would have an effect on everybody. First, it would have an effect on businesses that export. Because instead of just exporting their product, they now have to go through exchange and change their US dollars to whatever country they're exporting to. Second, that's going to decrease revenue, it's going to decrease profits, which will in turn, they'll have to cut jobs or maybe eventually close their shop, close their company. It's going to hurt imports because it's going to cost more to import stuff into the country. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when you look at stuff like regular stuff, you see made in China. We import a lot of stuff in this country. And if the price goes up on imports, it costs more, standard of living in America goes down. The second most important thing that could happen if we don't get it under control, our country could default on its debt, which means it can't pay its deficit or it can't pay its interest or its principal. If that happens, you have essentially a Greece situation in America. The only difference is Germany and France are not going to be there to bail us out. We're going to be stuck on our own, defaulted. Now, a couple things are going to happen if we default. First thing, bond prices are going to go down. Short-term interest is going to go skyrocketing. Oil and gold are probably going to hit prices that people didn't even think were possible. And the major hit that it's going to give to this country, the middle class is going to take the blunt. It's essentially going to dissolve the middle class and make them all lower class. And this can and will happen if we don't get the debt under control. In the speech, I've argued that the super committee both needs to raise taxes and cut spending. I've gone over who the subcommittee is and what they need to do and what is going to happen if they do this. And hopefully, after you listen to the speech, you realize that this is not something to sweep under the rug. Thank you.